Wattanasin, who is an information security professional in the healthcare field, and he's going to be giving us this wonderful talk on blue teaming and incident response for the win.
Let me start up the slides so that I know my timing. Actually, what time is it? 9:59. All right, great. So first off, thank you everyone for coming, especially on a Saturday morning, and spending the time at BSides Connecticut here at this first location here. First time at this location. I was trying to do this. I was parking in the parking lot D, and then I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have like Massachusetts plates. So basically, I'm probably going to be the first one that they tow. So I actually had to move. I had to move my car, and I had to move my car to the other garage. But yeah, first of all, I wanted to welcome everyone. And again, first off, thank you for coming in. I will be sharing all of these slides too. I have about 50 slides. That's a lot. It's mostly pictures and references as well. And so I'm going to kind of go through them really fast and pretty much try to have some time for questions as well. And so these 50 slides, I'm trying to probably go in maybe about 40 minutes, hopefully 40 or 45 minutes, with 15 minutes for questions as well. So so first off, I'm Roy Wattanasin, and basically we're going to talk about blue teaming, mostly on the Windows platform. And again, I wanted to say that I'm still learning. I'm not at all means like a subject matter expert. I'm still learning on all of this. So feel free if you have any feedback, good and bad as well. So first off, who am I? Actually, it's the next slide after that. I always like to put this disclaimer up because number one, it makes me not responsible if I say anything wrong. And also at the same time, if there's I actually put this today. This is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all for every environment, every industry, every company. We know that security maturity is different for every organization, every industry, depending on what time. For example, vulnerability management might be really like a top A right now, but things change. You have resources, you have people, you have assets, you have different things, so it can change anytime. Also, at the same time, it doesn't represent any of the companies or organizations that I work for. And if I mention any tools, you're going to use this in an ethical, legal manner as well. And so just want to mention that. Okay, who am I? Obviously, this is not my picture. There's actually a website I was trying to generate. Last night I kept trying to generate a picture because every time you go to this website, this person does not exist. Anyone know about this person does not exist? All right, cool. I had to keep generating for about, let's say, 15 minutes until someone had like black hair, look like me. But I used to put my images on the web, but basically now it's so easy to do like a reverse lookup, and it's so very easy to find out if you have an image like on LinkedIn. Hopefully it's blurry. It's very easy to find all the websites and links that it's attributed to. Mostly talking about open source intelligence, but we can talk about that later. But this person does not exist website it uses artificial intelligence. None of the pictures, it uses different characteristics of information of people, and it creates different people. You can probably use it on your LinkedIn as well. Anyway, healthcare professional. I'm a former adjunct faculty at Brandeis for over 10 plus years. I created the healthcare informatics course at Brandeis. I put healthcare-based security, the second class. So I taught a lot of healthcare professionals like medical officers, healthcare nurses, doctors as well, and people that wanted to transition into healthcare as well. So healthcare really needs your help. We need more people. Also at the same time, I also enjoy kind of like the community, giving the community, getting people together as well. I used to do BSides Boston a while back, and now pretty much I'm waiting for younger generation to help as well. And also we do Boston Application Security Conference. It's awesome. We just had it a couple weeks ago. It was an awesome application security free conference in Burlington, Massachusetts, and et cetera, blah, blah, blah. I enjoyed data forensics, incident response, healthcare, AppSec, IoT, and there's also a link here. I've done some CISO mentoring for people that want to become CISOs or leaders as well. I talk about like what are like some of the characteristics, communications, etc. as well. And there's also this is mostly all ISSA, and also there's a pre-professionals meetup as well. And for those of you looking for the slide, I'll post it at my Twitter WR0 as well. Right? Okay, so first off, oops, sorry. Okay, so first off, what are we going to talk about today? Specifically, just all blue team. So raise of hands. Who in this room are blue teamers? Okay, great. Who in this room are red teamers? Penetration testers. All right, great, excellent. Who in this room does not fit any of the categories? Students? Students? Okay, great, excellent, great. You're doing really. Who is doesn't fit any of the categories, etc. and other? Okay, great. Okay, excellent. So you're in the right place. So yeah, pretty much today's agenda, we're going to be talking about blue teaming, what you need to do. We're going to have some recommendations, and then hopefully I get through all the slides so that there are questions. I can answer your questions too. So here, pretty much you see that blue team. I think everyone as for those of you on blue teaming, and also for those of you in different other teams as well, you've heard that blue teaming, you always have to be 100% correct of the time. So for example, the red team, the people that do it to simulate the attackers, the cyber criminals, basically they basically can be, they don't always have to be right 100% of the time. As you know, the term originally came out from the military. So the military wanted to use this term blue team. It's kind of a way of acting as the friendly foe, defense. And then they also came up with this red team as well. And it's basically, those playing the role of adversary, offense, replicating attackers. But in a nutshell, blue team is looking at discovering, defending against attacks. And I also added another one late last night. It was actually sharing information as well. So for example, the cyber criminals, the attackers, they share information really well, whether it be like, whatever mechanism they use. So for blue teamers, we need to really share information better as well. Obviously, some things are private or confidential to your group or your department or your company, but there are also other ones that can help blue teamers as well. So we need to share more information more readily as well. So who loves using cheat sheets? Who loves using cheat sheets? Okay, show of hands. Okay, great, excellent. So I really love cheat sheets. I actually initially found out from like SANS, and ever since I've been using cheat sheets for everything. So for example, when you're looking at let's say one of the most commands on Windows command line, for example, or a Linux command, or some other command line, there's great cheat sheets available. The one that I actually recommend is this malware archaeology. How many people know about that one? It actually talks about all the different Windows, Windows commands. It's actually a great information here. But again, I'll be sharing all these slides too. There's also stuff from SANS, especially on the data forensic side, DFIR. There's also pen testing SANS as well. There's, of course, I already mentioned there. There's some training cheat sheets as well. All of these are made available, and I encourage everyone to use cheat sheets, because when you think of an incident, or when you think of some disaster or event or suspicious event, basically sometimes you don't have time to kind of it takes just a small amount of time to make a decision, and these cheat sheets are a way, again, this is just my opinion, but are a way of not making a mistake. So you can just follow this. It could be a procedure. It doesn't have to be a cheat sheet, but these are procedures that you and your group can use, and you and your group can work with other team members as well. So it's just kind of like repetition practice as well. So this is why I mentioned cheat sheets. Right? So first of all, in your organizations, in your network environment, show of hands, do you know what is normal in your environment? Do you know what is normal? This is in terms of what specific workstation processes should be running on a finance computer. What specific workstation processes, programs, software should be running on a, I don't know, AS400? I don't know. What specific thing? So how do you tell what is normal if you don't know what is how do you tell what is abnormal if you don't know what is normal? in your organizations. Obviously, there's different challenges. I'm not just talking about internal infrastructure. It's all these cloud third-party infrastructures as well. Remember that it doesn't matter if your organization is in the cloud, AWS, Office 365, Microsoft. We're responsible. Ultimately, where the company is responsible for the data. Doesn't matter where it is. So you'll see, but you really want to know what is normal. To be able to know what is normal, you need to be able to know what is abnormal. You need to know what is normal, basically. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And again, right, which one is normal? I was also looking for a picture that actually designated. I remember it was like posted on Twitter a couple years, maybe months ago, but I couldn't really find one. But for example, here, which one is normal? On the left-hand side, you can see that Windows Explorer, when that process basically runs as user init, spawns Explorer. Let's look at the Explorer process. It does all of this, the registry key as well. But this is just some examples. For example, like one of the things you probably want to do is like a golden image, which I will talk in the next few slides. But you really want to know what are the exact processes running. Let's say on a financial computer, a computer in finance, or accounting computer, or IT computer, or etc. That's how you're able to tell what is abnormal, basically. So, okay. Know thy network. I think everyone already knows about this, but these are the different things that blue teamers should be monitoring, or people as defenders as well. We really want to take a look at all of the high privilege, low security accounts. So, for example, these are like the domain administrator accounts. These are the O365 global administrator. These are the other ones. Usually they're service accounts that passwords never expire. Sometimes there's, actually I should say, most of the time there's low security on it. When was the last time there's an application or API tied into it that basically changes the password, or takes a look at the auditing rules for the high security accounts. And this I'm talking about just anything in Active Directory, domain administrator. So for example, Sean Metcalf, one of the guys I really admire. He's awesome. He's amazing. He and his team. Do we need domain administrators for these different accounts? I don't know. I don't think so. You have to really take a look as well. Also at the same time, please monitor your network, or else the attackers, criminals will monitor your network for you as well. I'll give you a story about that in a couple minutes. System administrators, doesn't matter, system administrators, IT, people that are taking care of the infrastructure. We need to do a better job of taking a look at monitoring, reviewing logs as well. What do we do after that? Obviously, there's a lot of logs. How do you parse it? How do you automate it? How do you take care of it as well? You can't take care of everything. A lot of times the criminals, cyber attackers, they will inundate, kind of do a denial of service. For example, they try to look at all of the different logging infrastructure, and they actually purposely try to fill up your logs, for example, so that, for example, your logging infrastructure no longer you can actually find the right stuff anymore. We can talk about that later, but I just want to mention that. Deception technology, honeypots. How many people are using honeypots in their infrastructure? It's still a really great technology, and we'll talk more about that too. Okay, so golden images. Who knows about Center for Internet Security? It's a great resource for different golden images. I believe that to be able to know what's normal and what's abnormal, you need to have some kind of golden image. Right now, there's a lot of different things based on, let's say you have a golden image for IT, a golden image for finance, a golden image for etc. You control it. It doesn't change. Let's say when things need to be changed, it's check for vulnerabilities, and then you can also update it gradually as well with tests as well, because a new golden image may not work with every new application or operating system, third party, etc. So I really recommend taking a look at Center for Internet Security. Provides a lot of different benchmarks. Many years ago, I used to be part of the Windows a while back. I think it was Windows XP or something. These CIS benchmarks talk about all of the different hardening. What you should do for Cisco ASA firewalls, what you should do for Windows, what you should do for any specific technology. Mobile phones as well, iOS, Android. There's also I'm trying to think of, there's these different, these are all free as well. Try this in a lab environment. Don't do it in your real environment. These are CIS, really locked down images, but you can check. You can take a look at it. Maybe you can leverage some of those images, take a look at the group policy that's built in and try to maybe copy all of that too. But again, it's not a one size fits all too. So I just wanted to mention that. All right. Windows Sandbox. How many people know about in April 2019, there was a new Windows Sandbox Microsoft patch. I encourage you to also take a look at Microsoft Sandbox. Sandboxy, how many people know about that too? There's a new one. It's actually just compatible with Windows 10 now that I use when analyzing like phishing emails or something else too. But yeah, Windows Sandbox is great. You can download it right directly from Microsoft as well. So go there. Right, cool. All right. How many people know about? Okay, 1 second. Sorry. How many people know about the ISACs, Information Sharing Analysis Centers? Okay, great, excellent. Every one of you should really be participating in the webinars and also presenting if you can. It's a great experience. There's one for every. United States has many information ISACs as well for different industries, healthcare, automotive, SCADA, you name it. There's so many ISACs as well, and again, they're all about sharing information, whether it be. Hopefully it's not confidential, but it helps the blue teamers and helps everyone as a whole. So I encourage everyone to take a look at it. There's more information. There's also ISACs around the world too, but take a look at that too. All right. Event logs. So I think everyone knows event logs. One way to get to event log is actually using the event VWR command through command line, or you can actually initiate this too, or you can go through the GUI as well. What I really recommend here is that we should actually be ingesting logs that are not only servers but also on the workstations as well. So, for example, a question for the red teamers: when was the last time that you did a pen test and actually you tried to take the logs of the server? Most of the time, the red teamers will, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the red teamers will actually do, let's say they do some kind of I don't know, take something, and then they will always try to get stuff from the endpoint, workstation logs. It's, most of the time, a lot of companies, they only have the server logs. They don't have any endpoint logs. So take a look at that. Did anyone want to comment about red teamers? I know that to try to stay under the gun, you're not going to go to the servers because, and again, this is not like 100% correct, but they're not going to go to the servers because the servers have a lot of different security controls and, like traps around it. So why not go to something that is not being used, or not being highly monitored? So it would be the endpoints as well. So I just wanted to mention that. All right. Okay. So regarding, log review, log analyzation as well, obviously, we want to take a look at privileged user and account monitoring, all of the domain administrator accounts, all of the Office 365 global administrators, anything that's basically higher than user. Did anyone know that, is this true and false? By default, in Active Directory, a regular user can read everything in Active Directory. Is that true or false? True. Excellent. Yep. So just so you know, anyone that has read access in Active Directory can read anything. So they can kind of spawn Active Directory users groups. They can start reading stuff. You should have group policies around that, but we'll talk about that later. Abnormal external communication sharing. I already talked about what to find out, what is normal, what to find out versus what is abnormal as well. You can only know what is abnormal when you know things are normal as well. Taking a look at acceptable use policies violations, not only just the insider threat. Remember, it's not just the external cyber criminals too. It's the internal insiders as well. Data exfiltration, unusual port activity. I think we get a lot of that information from the different firewalls, switches, network information too. But you also want to take a look at the east-west traffic as well. Take a look at that. So, for example, if you don't have the right logs in there, how are you able to actually see what happened as well between your third parties or some other connection, etc. File integrity monitoring, obviously we want to know, right? We've seen it, the WannaCry 1, WannaCry 2, SMB vulnerabilities, basically. You really want to take a look at, put stuff around your SMB shares as well. Auditing. Remember, auditing is not turned on by default. In Windows, you have to turn it on as well in the group policy or the security policy as well. All right. So, okay. Anyone know what is Windows Event ID 4688? You'll just get bragging rights. I don't have any prizes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah. Great job. Yep. So it's basically any new process spawning. Yep. So you don't have to know. For those of you people that didn't know, I think that if you have like a cheat sheet or if you have the most highly recommended top security events that we should be looking at, I have it in the next few slides. But 4668 is basically any time a new process is spawning. It could be anything. And for example, sorry, I have to keep going there. It could be anything like this. WScript running. This is something great to monitor, especially in your logging infrastructure. Could be a SIM, could be a logging infrastructure, but I'll show you more in the next few slides too. All right. These are more security event logs. So for example, 4625, failed user logins. Those are for brute forces. So anytime there's additional, let's say, people either entering the wrong password many times, or you probably want to monitor against that, in your security operations center. You probably want to take a look at those events. Let's say brute force. It could be false positive. It doesn't have to be, but we've seen a lot, especially around domain controller, domain administrator accounts and other accounts that people normally don't take a look at as well. All right. Lateral movements. 4624, basically it's more of anytime like account has successfully logged in. Right. 4624 is anytime a account has successfully logged in is another great this is probably about 50%, but you can detect some kind of lateral movement. So between 4624, a new process is spawned, and then between 4625, 4624, 4625, account is successfully logged in as well. So you can put some defenses around that. These are some additional application stuff too. In your SIM, in your logging, you can also kind of monitor around this too. It won't be exact, but the more you do it, the more you know as well, but it will help as well. Regarding application and crashes too. All right. This is, I mentioned about the auditing policy. Remember, you have to turn it on to actually see these logs as well, but it depends, but you probably want to kind of like test it out and see if, what happens. But something like this, event log being cleared, I think that would be really interesting as well. Or maybe you want to build your defense around if someone actually shuts down your Active Directory. Active Directory, your whole Active Directory system, guess what happens then? You don't have any logs, you don't have anything, right? Or they cleared anything, but there's many things here, but you should build your defenses around that too. Right? Okay, firewall logs, right? I think firewall logs, it's good. It does a good job internally as well. Might block some, official, like server stuff going outbound as well. But you also want to build defenses and notifications around maybe some firewall rules are deleted, maybe something else, etc. Okay. Group policies. Obviously, we want to take a look at. I remember I mentioned about the putting together the different auditing logs, putting together that you want to turn stuff on. For example, if you take a look at the event log, I believe that if by default event log is about not even like 16 meg. I think it's like less than 5 meg or something by default. You can actually use group policy to turn on these different log sizes, and then actually monitor them. I'm not saying to monitor everything. You want to monitor based on probably the event ID as well. Or else there's going to be a whole influx of logs coming in and you won't know what to do with it. So just wanted to mention there. All right. Application advanced audit policies on file shares. This is what I mentioned about like the WannaCry, SMB, different things. We want to actually take a look at all the different SMB sharing as well. Some of you might already be doing it with DLP policies, etc. DLP policies there's a lot of false positive in there too, but you want to actually take a look at what maybe things that are being shared or things, etc. Just getting more detail around that. All right. Event ID 5145. I'm not going to ask, but it's basically, a network state, share object was added. So let's say someone shares something on the file share, internally as well. So you get something like that with auditing turned on. All right. So, Okay, cool. All right, good. I'm going good. Okay, great. I'm on 26. Great. Halfway. Okay, so any questions so far? Yes. Yes. Yep. These are all Microsoft Windows event logs. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Are they universal? So if you have a third-party software that's parsing these logs to help you automate the process a little bit,
Yep.
can you set them to these same IDs on the third-party stuff?
Yep. So the question was, if you have a third-party application and you want to ingest in the third-party application Windows logs, yes. Yes. Yep. This is all Microsoft. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Great question. Any other questions so far? Okay. Great. Excellent. So how many people are ingesting logs and of course using different open source utilities in their environment, right? As well, it probably can be a combination of commercial tools, open source tools. These are some that I've used in a couple years ago. Snare. There's some. So what I'm trying to say is that all of this is all like free stuff, unless the company has changed it. Everything in my slide is all free. It's all free actually. It's all available to everyone. Anyone can download it. There's NXLog. How many people use it? It's a free one. You can ingest logs. There's Snare. There's many other ones too. I just put these two together. Many like Security Operations Center, they use different utilities as well to in their logging environment or SIM as well. But you want to have some kind of ingestion as well. So just wanted to mention there. All right. Here I didn't have time, but how many people have used Bloodhound in Active Directory as a test? It's not an end-all be-all. A lot of penetration testing companies use it when they do an Active Directory penetration test as well. But it's a great idea to put in test environments. Maybe not in your corporate, but maybe take a look at it. It's actually really interesting. I'm actually about to take a look at it too. Right? So this is actually all free as well. How many people have heard of Elastic? ELK, it's called. ELK, right? So, these are kind of the basic, recommendations around logging. Obviously, you want to include a timestamp. You want to have format in JSON. I'm not going to read all of this, but you want to turn on logging. You want to log stuff, but, on the left-hand side is Elastic ELK. I recommend it. This is typically on the left-hand side for like a smaller organization, basically. But these are all free. Beats is a data collection. Logstash is very similar to like a logging ingestion as well. Elasticsearch is kind of like the ELK engine. Elastic, you'll probably hear elastic.com. Kibana is kind of like putting together the visual endpoints together. So this again, you feel free to use it or not, but it's really interesting. I'll actually show you in the next few slides. So for example, the Elasticsearch ELK, it's actually being used. I don't know if you know, it's actually being used by companies like Uber, Netflix, Facebook, Microsoft, etc. What you can do is actually on the left-hand side, you actually can, if you take a look, when you ingest all these logs, it could be like Beats, using Beats, it could be any kind of open source or commercial tool, ingesting the logs. You bring it in, and then from here, it's kind of like, think of this as like a logging, kind of like a logging, maybe not a SIM because it could do correlation too, but it's very similar to like a Splunk. How many people have used Splunk? Right? Yeah, okay, cool. This is very similar. It's open source. You can actually run queries on different event IDs. You can run, it could be all Windows event IDs, could be anything that you want to search for. It can be like and something. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to put all of the different queries, but if you don't have anything in your environment, let's say it doesn't work as well, there's many open source alternatives as too. But also, you can also purchase the commercial version too. But it's a great tool because you have all the logs, you have all the events. So what do you do with it now? You actually go through and put different searches, maybe automated searches, maybe correlated searches as well. And that's how you can actually go in and actually see what's going on as well. All right. Kibana was the visualization for ELK. So it kind of makes the nice graphic maps, visualization as well. Could be Could be for the leadership team, for example. Could be for something, but pretty interesting there. All right. Passwords. How many people are doing different monthly password audits in your company? You don't have to raise your hand. It's okay. I think that now, for those of you, let me ask, for those of you on red teams, right? How many times when you're trying to get into a company's network that you actually take a look at all of the password hashes, looking at LinkedIn, looking at Facebook, looking in at all the different breaches, comparing it to see if any of the people, any of the people in the organization have the same hash. What does that mean? They have the same password, right? Hopefully there's 2FA or multi-factor authentication, Hashcat. How many people have used Hashcat? I've used it, actually a lot. It's awesome. There's different attack modes. There's 5 attack modes. You can combine it. There's a straight attack. There's combination attack. We can put a left and right join. There's also dictionary attacks, which works okay. There's also brute force permutation. I really recommend everyone take a look at it. On the left-hand side, it actually talks about all the different hashes in Hashcat and what to use. For example, NTLM is actually, sorry, I have it over there. It's I think it's 11,000. I forget what the number is. If anyone knows, let me know. But I think it's 11,000 or something. By default, when you are actually doing using Hashcat, you can actually you can have it either automatically try to find out what kind of hash you got it from, or you can actually specify. So I really recommend you take a look at Hashcat, and probably one of the things, number one, get approval for this too, right? We don't want to have that instance of where remember that those penetration testers from Coalfire. They got into a little bit of thing, right? But make sure you get approval for all of this. But I recommend everyone take a look at it because, one of the things that, red teamers do is actually they compare they're going to get the LinkedIn, password, hashes. They're going to get the Facebook breach information. They're going to get all the information and try to compare it with the users as well. All right. Kerber roasting. How many people know Kerber roasting? All right. I just learned about it actually earlier this year. Sean Metcalf has great information. Ben 10 as well. Basically, it's a method for extracting service accounts, credentials from Active Directory with a regular account. Most service accounts we know never expire. Passwords never expire. There's really not a lot of controls around it. And any user authenticated in Active Directory can query. Remember, because I mentioned, doesn't anyone who has an Active Directory account, user account, can read anything in Active Directory. That's crazy, right? There's some stuff from Ben 10. He was my instructor for one of these other classes, and he did an awesome job on Kerber roasting as well. Sean Metcalf, Pyrotech 3, talks about it basically talks about this Kerber roasting as well. Harmjoy, probably some of you also, probably a lot of you have heard of them. He's also one of the creators of Bloodhound as well. So Kerber roasting revisited. This one talks about SPNs as well. You can actually look for service principal names as well. There's some tools there. Take a look at that. All right. Windows system internals. How many people use that? Right. This guy right here, Mark Rusinovich. Now he's the CTO of the Microsoft Azure. I really recommend taking a look at this, especially when you're doing your threat hunting or even if not. And I'll talk about threat hunting too in the next few slides later. Sysinternals tools are great. They're free. He created it back in 1996, but it's awesome. Especially Sysmon Process Explorer, PSExecPortMon, ProcMon, Process Monitor, ListDLLs. This is just a few. There's there's many tools, but this is awesome. Use it. Take a look at it. This will help to identify what should be on your network, what should not be, what is abnormal, what is normal as well. So just wanted to mention that. There's also a live internals as well, sysinternals. For those of you that don't want to download, you can run it from the website if it has internet connectivity. Yes. Yes. Yep. Exactly. Yep. These are all things and yep. Exactly. Yep. And who knows this person? Jessica Payne. She is one of the Microsoft security researchers who I hope I can be one day. She's awesome. She basically does security research, and also she does a lot of stuff for Microsoft security. And she has a lot of blogs, a lot of things like you can use open source stuff. You can use, for example, Power BI. Power Business Intelligence that basically is it requires a license in Office 365. You can run it to look at different event logs, for example. So you don't have to use Elastic ELK. You can use anything that you want as long as it works. But she's awesome. She talks about lateral movement, free tools, recommendations, and she's pretty much like, I wish I had ak.ms/Roy, but she has it right there. But she's awesome. Take a look at that. And she has a lot of stuff around lateral movements and Microsoft as well. All right. So now it's about patching and finding vulnerabilities. Obviously, there's different departments or different companies may not do a good job around it, but still, patching is definitely, if there's one thing in the company that you can do that doesn't require a lot of additional money, maybe it depends how you patch it as well, is patching. Think about patching the operating system, but also all the third-party vulnerabilities, third-party software as well. Take a look at the vulnerability management, whether it be a Nessus or any other open source tool or a commercial tool too. There's a lot of cloud SaaS solutions now, software as a service, repeat and do over again. As I mentioned, your vulnerability, let's say if you you're at leadership and you're trying to show the leadership that your vulnerability is actually an A right now during the month of November. One of the things that I do is actually to let leadership know that our grade A, won't be grade A in December. There's different things, so it changes over time. It's never going to be always the same. It could be even worse some months as well. Resolve it, and there's some information here, open source security tools that you can get too. All right, PowerShell. How many people use PowerShell? Awesome, right? All right, great. We should be using it more. One of the things that cyber criminals like to do is they like to use PowerShell because it's free and it's open. It's on every Windows 10 box now. Windows 7, you had to install it. Windows XP, I don't even know if it works. I think you have to install it too, but use it. It was created by this guy, Jeffrey Snower, in 2016. He's now the chief architect of, he's a technical fellow, actually the highest level at Microsoft, and it's built on the .NET framework. I advise you to take a look at this if you haven't. It's kind of like the new command line. Everything in Microsoft now doesn't have to be done in GUI. It can all be done in PowerShell, from Exchange to Active Directory to Exchange email groups that you can't do sometimes in the new, on-site Exchange or Office 365. It's hidden. So I really recommend taking a look at PowerShell as well. All right. Nmap. I think everyone knows Nmap. It was in the Hackers movies and all these different ones. Is in the, Mr. Robot. It was actually correct too, right? From David Kennedy. Or the Trevor thing. Nmap.org. Gordon Fyodor. He's awesome. Take a look at that. You can do not only looking for open ports, you can do advanced, Nmap stuff too. You can look at, looking for some vulnerabilities too. Looking for additional stuff too. I didn't put it in there, but a lot of good stuff there. All right. Polar bear, honeypots. This is actually talking about honeypots, and honeypot, right, is just a trap for an attacker hoping that they will interact with a way that provides useful intelligence. Polar bear was actually, from Ben 10. It's currently in the making right now, but what it is, it's the premise of, you can create any application, let's say like command line or PowerShell, and then basically, it will trick the attacker or cyber criminals into thinking that's a real command line. So it's kind of like looping, and Polar Bear is actually coming from Ben 10 in a few months, as well. And you're welcome to add stuff to it. It's going to be different applications. It's kind of like a honeypot of different applications. It could be PowerShell, could be anything. Then you kind of laugh at the same time, but you also are doing your kind of due diligence to see intelligence. What are they doing? Whether it be external or internal server, etc. I want to stress here, for those of you who have honeypots as well, please please change the default credentials. Please change the default names. Don't leave your honeypot as honeypot, ABC, etc. You can find more information on Polar Bear right there. All right. Fish your users. I'm not going to ask. Obviously, right? If you don't fish your users, guess what? Your cyber criminals will. They're going to be your best users' friends. If you're not aware of it, right? Talk to your users. Don't assume. Please don't have the mentality that users don't know what they're doing. They're very smart. Just because users don't indulge in security doesn't mean that they do not care as well. And help them try to figure out what they're trying to do. to be an ambassador for them. And don't give up on them because it's our jobs. There's some information here. How many people remember using Social Engineer Toolkit? Works pretty well. You can copy any website in like 1 minute. It's just very interesting. It was from Trusted Tech, David Kennedy as well. Most of the versions of SCT has been released, but except for one, so the antivirus won't catch it as well. But good information there. So, all right, threat hunting. Threat hunting. There's some good information here, but pretty much in a nutshell, threat hunting is depending on the maturity of your organization. You really want to do threat hunting. There's no specific framework for it, but you basically one of the things that threat hunting gives you is basically a way to, number one. Most of the time, most organizations have like a IDS, IPS. They usually have rules-based stuff. They usually have like maybe a EDR, next generation antivirus, for example. But remember, it's all signature-based. It doesn't have to be signature-based. It could be behavioral-based as well. We really need to do threat hunting more because the human factor as well. The human will actually find the obstacles, the stuff that the signatures and these non maybe behavioral will find as well. Because for example, for example, let me give you an example. There was an accident where we were doing threat hunting and all of a sudden we found some users from China by accident, right? So that's a good, keep working on that. It's a lessons learned, but it helps everyone too. Remember, keep in mind we can have all the technology in place, but companies still get breached, get hacked, right? We need to leverage more of it. We need to do more automation. We need to also, this one is a PowerShell script, PS1. It's called Deep Blue. Deep Blue, it's actually from SANS, and basically you can run logs through it and it will give you more information as well. So there's some stuff there. I hooked up this threat hunting book as well, CyberRees and some other stuff too. You don't have to register. You have that until they take it down. All right. Follow this guy. I already mentioned about Sean Metcalf. He does awesome stuff. He's probably one of the most brilliant guys I know. In addition to Jessica as well. And these are just a few people, so I want to mention it because I'm on the camera too. I want to mention that there's so many people that are really, really smart. I recommend you talk to them. We're trying to do the same thing over and over again. Right now, Microsoft Ignite right now, I don't even know where it is. I think it's Las Vegas right now. He's there. Oh, Orlando. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I didn't know, but pretty cool stuff. Don't forget about application security. OWASP. How many Open Web Application Security Project members here? All right, awesome. Don't forget about that. There's from 2017, there's an OWASP Top 10. Obviously, one of the things was if there was an OWASP Top 1, there was actually being fixed. A lot of the OWASP Top 10 or stuff that's over and over again, right? Cross-site scripting, disclosure, blah blah blah, SQL injection. It's over and over again. But there's also OWASP Mobile Security Project. There's OWASP cheat sheets as well. And then, this is more like, we're helping this, so Ori, this is our Boston Application Security Conference. We have it's all free. We don't record everything, but we have it every year. We have about, 200 people? 200 people, but really interesting. So, take a look at that. Take a look at your OWASP, local chapters too. Okay, so this is Shodan. How many people use the Shodan? Right? It's just it's a great utility it's a great web site for those of you who have educational academia emails. You can actually get it for free. Just basically contact I forgot his name. You can actually get it for free as well. The full version for educational people that work in academia. Great information here. Make sure that you're doing your open source intelligence too. Not only logging the logs, but taking a look at, hopefully your servers in the network in your company are not advertised here. Hopefully there's not an Amazon Echo in your company. Hopefully there's not a NAS. Hopefully there's not a Bing. I don't know. You name it. There's a refrigerator in your company and it's right there. So take a look at that too. All right. Oh, sorry. I went too fast. Google hacking, I think everyone already knows this. Google dorking, Google hacking, Google dorking, everyone knows. It came from Johnny Long many, many years ago. He was the one that originated with it. He has a nonprofit, Hackers for Charity, that he does. He's been in Africa. But yeah, awesome stuff. Take a look at it. There's exploit, Google hacking, all the different terms you can use. This I just copied like yesterday, so you get more information. Offensive security, for those of you that want to get more familiar with Metasploit. Offensive security, you can also basically donate to them too, but they have this course for free. Everyone know that. There's a Metasploit, Metasploit Offensive Security Unleashed. You can actually learn all Metasploit online for free. Maltego, how many people use that? I'm actually waiting for the Black Friday so I can get it up for a good price. There's many different versions of it, but there's a community version too, obviously. But you can kind of see, actually it's not in here, I think they may have changed it, but you can kind of get an idea of what it's basically based on transforms. It's based on transforms, or kind of like, think of it as different searches into applications as well, what they call it in Maltego. And you can look at, again, public source information using this Maltego as well. So pretty interesting, but do your thing. Make sure it's from Perturva. You can get more information as well. Bless you. All right. So this guy I actually follow a lot too, because yeah, I was really lucky. I worked in Hong Kong for about almost 1 year. Cool. Yep. I'm glad to be back again with all the, the different things that's happening. I won't talk about that. That's another talk. This guy is awesome. He used to be in the UK, and he has a lot of great red team tips. Not only this guy, there's many more people, but I wanted to kind of call out him, because blue teamers, we need to remember, we need to be 100% right? So, take a look at, the red teams as well. Different tips too. All right. How am I doing on time? All right, cool. 15 minutes. All right. So incident response, obviously I won't have as much time, but for those of you doing incident response as well, you're growing it, you're maturing it. Be sure to do tabletop exercises. Be sure to do practice repetition. You get lessons learned. Be sure to work with your internal teams, not only in your internal group, or external people outside your department as well, and also external people from the third parties that you're working with as well. I'm sorry about that. And then, keep continuing updating your policies, procedures, plans. Always be ready. Stay calm. Practice, practice to not make mistakes. The more repetitive you do, the more checklists you have, the more procedures you have, the more it's easier to do. If you're not trained for it, and then you have a large incident, what are you going to do? You're not going to be calm. You're not going to be, so do that is very important. That's the NIST, from 2012, old one from the incident response. Forensics tools, pretty much, who knows Buscador, OSAINT VM, right? It's mostly from, OSAINT Techniques, inteltechniques.com, I believe. Yes, yep, exactly, yep. And then, SANS, SIFT. SANS provides also a, forensics image as well, and also Cali and many others too. But again, you should always have, not only for your policies, procedures, etc., you should really have your VMs, VirtualBox, VMs, VMware ready too. It should be edited for your corporate testing, because you probably have to, analyze some malware, analyze some other stuff, right? Sandboxing, etc. So be ready for that too. Okay. Living off the land. How many people have heard of this? So this is actually command line evasion. So for example, let's say you are, basically recording command line, right? This website right here, Living off the Land, you can, a attacker or a cyber criminal or red team can make the command line look so bad so that you can't even tell what it is. Or it can be embedded in a different process or some other stuff too. This is great information here. It's a great project. You can also contribute to this project too. It's open source. It's freeware, but it's, the attackers, let's say attackers, red teamers, they use this too. Cyber criminals, they use this so that in your log source, you're enabled to tell what it is. Great. Okay, recommendations. I think I'm good. Awesome. Great. Okay, so recommendations, these are just my opinions, but, know thy network. Do your job well and automate when possible, because the cyber criminals, attackers, they're doing that already. Try to measure, document your gaps too. Lessons learned, progress that has been made. If it's not you, or let's say it's your manager, review and edit the report. Take a look at it. Make sure that all the technical jargon is out. up there, making sure that bring it to someone outside of technology to see if they actually understand it. When you're actually presenting in front of the leadership team, they want to see red, green, blue. They want to see something simple. They don't want to see vulnerability scan, ZVE, X, whatever it is. Make it simple. Network. I think everyone here has already been doing that. Participate in more of the, sharing blue team information, etc. Also at the same time, for those of you, there's also the mental health hackers too. We have a lot of stress. Especially incident response engagements. We're always working. We can work from anywhere in the world. Always working. Enjoy your time to take vacation as well. It's really important. And with that, I want to open up for questions. We have about 11 minutes, basically. And feel free, feedback. If it was bad, let me know. If it wasn't good, let me know as well. I'm WR0 on Twitter. And again, this is just all the things that I've learned from travels, etc., talking to people. And I hope that this was very beneficial for everyone. And of course, I will share this too. I'll find out somewhere to put it. Any questions? Any questions? No. Yeah, sure. Yep. Yes, sir. Yep. Sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry. That's a good question. I may have to get back to you on that. Yeah, I'm not positive myself. I would have to get back to you on that. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, but the question was how often do you see frequency analysis on the blue team side? I don't know. I have to look. I have to take a look. I think SANS does something. I think there's some other, but I'm not off the top of my head. I don't know that answer. So, yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What? Okay. Yeah. Fortunately, I still don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if anyone wants to comment. Unfortunately, I think, I'll have to get back to you on that. Yep. Any other questions? Any other questions? Good. Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about logging and logging.
Yes.
What other good logging methods that
Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, are there any recommended logging, etc.? It's not a one size fits all for every company, organization. What may work for my company or your company may not work for someone else as well. So everyone is doing their own thing. But I mean, there's recommendations about what you should be logging. But obviously, right, if you start ingesting workstation logs, and it's going to be a huge stuff. You probably want to just ingest stuff, but try to parse it out by the most. There's actually, I think I put in here, but if not, I'll put in there too. For the red team side, there's actually from Microsoft, they actually have a list of all the top maybe 20 to 50 to 100 Windows security event logs that should be looked at, whether it be a security operations center or etc. as well. So I can only say on that, but yeah, it's not a one size fits all. So, yep. Yes. Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, sure. Yep. So the question was, are there any companies or industries using a third party? Yep. So a lot of the MSSPs, shared partners, a lot of companies also because they're, again, right? Show of hands, how many people have 100 people in their security team? Right? Okay. So, all right. So yeah, there's a lot of, security operations center that are doing it, whether it be a Dell SecureWorks or something else too. There's many. This just came on the top of my head, but there's so many. You'll see every industry using their own thing too. But it also depends on the amount of users as well. Thank you. Amount of users, etc. But again, it's not a one size fits all. But I know that we don't have 100 people. So, and also at the same time, we're not working 24/7. So we probably need some kind of third party or vendor to help us to basically monitor that 24/7 as well. So yeah, good question. Yep. Any other questions? Going once? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, yeah. So there was one. There was that the snare and the NX log, and also that PowerShell script called Deep Blue as well. And those are just some recommendations too. There's many more too that you can start off if there's nothing currently that you have as well. So there's many. Yep. So. Oh yeah. The question was, is there any recommendation for different? It's not a one size fits all. What recommendation I would look at is actually the top critical Windows security event IDs and put defenses around it. I think one of the things that I forgot was, I think one on the slides is, it's hard to do whitelisting, but when you actually know like what is in the environments, you can actually, put like a whitelist together. Any deviation from that whitelist, so something like that too. But the main thing is really just to know like what is normal as well. Yep. So, yep. Great. Well, thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Roy. So if you guys want to stick around,